Hello, everyone, if there isn't everyone. Now I'm talking to you this morning, and it is morning, February 28th, 2024. I'll tell you, it's a Wednesday, and this morning when I woke up, it was 33 degrees, which, yes, that's fine for February, right? You expect that. But the day before, it was 81 degrees. And the day before that was pretty near, about almost got 80 degrees. And yesterday morning when I went out to feed my little puppy out there, and you say little puppy, she's pretty big, half the size of a calf or something. The daffodils were blooming in my neighbor's yard, and I think they're starting to bloom in my yard too. But I think today they'll probably go back to sleep since it's 33 degrees and the wind is blowing high. I hope my new microphone doesn't pick it up, but it might. And I'll tell you, I'm doing these poems and trying to, learn the software and, get used to speaking in my microphone and hopefully not breathing into it. And, hopefully get better and better as each one comes. And maybe, I used to know all this stuff. But, it's been 7 years since I even touched it. And, some of the old stuff I used to use has been updated. And, well, I had, this program I'm using, Camtasia, to record the screen and stuff. Well, I had the older version, and I couldn't even use it anymore. I went to the Camtasia site, and it was like, we don't support that version. And so they made me buy an update for it. Even though back then I was supposed to get free updates for life, but clearly that's not the case. Anyway, I used to know Camtasia program pretty good, and now I have to relearn it all again. Seems like I've forgotten almost everything I knew. So I'm a work in progress, a diamond in the rough. And now, today and right now, and I don't know if it's the only poem I'm going to read today. We'll see how it goes. It's kind of chilly, and I'm living in the house I'm living is one of the older houses in town. It's super old. It's probably at least 150 years old. And it's a testimony to the strength of the build, because it's held up well against many, many storms, but it's up against another one today, a windstorm, and I don't know what it'll turn into later. We'll see. It's keeping my puppy out there stirred up, and I got an older dog. She's out there kind of comforting her, but she don't like to be out in the cold. So if it gets too bad, I'll have to bring them both in. The puppy, she's getting better in the house, but you gotta watch her carefully, because puppies. But she'll be a year old next month, and she's getting a little more calm and a little more settled. Not quite as destructive as before. However, here we go. Now, the poem I'm reading this morning is called "The Baby," and it's by Jeremiah Rankin. And now this guy Jeremiah Rankin, he was born January 2nd, 1828. And then he died November 28th, 1904. Now, the significant part of this is that, the woman that compiled the poetry book, Mary E. Burt, published that book in 1904, and at the time she talked about getting permission from Mr. Rankin to add his poem to her book, and he was still alive then, so I thought that kind of interesting. So now I don't know what the problem is really. Hopefully I figure it out, but I mean, when I make these videos, the text on the screen is super duper clear, but after I upload it to YouTube, it's all fuzzy and funny looking, and impossible for anybody to read, really. So I'm going to work on that. Maybe I have to redo the text into some other graphics program and make an image of it. I don't know. Anyway, you see here on this page, and perhaps you may not be able to read it, a picture of Mr. Jeremiah Rankin. Now, he was, like I said, born January 2nd, 1828. And he lived till November 28th, 1904. And he was an abolitionist. He fought against slavery. He didn't like it at all. And he a champion of the temperance movement, and if anybody recalls, this was against alcoholism. I don't know all the details back then, but they were totally against bars and alcohol, and they got prohibition started, which caused a lot of bars to close, and very interesting time back then. But I think they didn't close the bars, and I don't think they called it prohibition. They didn't close those till later. I think in, I don't know, was it about in the 20s? Anyway, well, I'll have to look that up. So he was a minister in Washington, D.C.'s first congregational church, and a correspondent with Frederick Douglass, which I know this guy from history. He was appointed the 6th president of Howard University in Washington, D.C. That is pretty... Now, by the tone of his poem, which I'm about to read to you, it's interesting how he worded things. You will see. And Rankin is best known for, he's an author of the hymns God Be With You Till We Meet Again and Tell It to Jesus, which I love these songs. Oh, I didn't know he wrote those. Wow. Well, that's interesting. And in 1903, he published a fictional journal of Esther Burr, Jonathan Edwards' daughter and mother of the 3rd Vice President of the United States, Andrew Burr. Well, that's interesting. This guy is pretty interesting. So I'm glad that I started off my reawakening of my channel, so to speak, with these, because I really just get curious about these kinds of things. So it's nice to get to know Mr. Rankin a little, and now we'll read his poem. Okay, here we go. The Baby. Now these are Mary E. Burt's words, and she makes little comments before each poem, and I think they're really nice. She says, I found the baby in Stedman's anthology. Now I looked up Stedman, and I'm pretty sure he's got his works here in Gutenberg.org. And he made lots of interesting quotes for people. Like one, let's see, where was that quote? Oh, here it is. Now, I don't know if you can see this text, and I'm sorry. That's because I forgot how to use the software. It may be blurry on the screen. And hopefully I'll get this straightened out. And, well, I guess I don't have too many subscribers or viewers yet. So that may not make a whole lot of difference at the moment. But maybe later somebody will stumble across my stuff. It happens now and then. I particularly like this quote. It says, put right the things you can put right today. Let the ones from back then go. Leave the rest to the angels or the devil or whoever is in charge of him. Now that's M.L. Stedman, which Miss Burt mentions in her comment here. She says she found the baby in Stedman's anthology. But, however, Jeremiah Eames Rankin, he wrote it. And she says, of Cleveland. Now, at the time, she had 1828, but he was clearly still alive when she published this book and wrote this little comment. And then she said, because it captured the heart of a 10-year-old boy. Now, she clearly was a teacher. Now, I don't know if I can find any data or details on her, which would be interesting. So I'm going to look those up and see if I can find her. Maybe even a picture of her. Who knows, maybe for the next poem. But she clearly had a 10-year-old in her class whose fancy was greatly moved by the two beautiful lines in Mr. Rankin's poem. Her face is like an angel's face, and I'm glad she has no wings. And that's interesting, those lines. So let's read the poem. Nay, shoon to hide her tiny tays. Nay, stockings on her feet. Her supple ankles white as snow, her early blossoms sweet. Her simple dress all sprinkled pink, her double dimpled chin, her puckered lips and balmy mouth, when nay and tooth within. Her ensign like her mother's een, 'twas gentle liquid things. Her face is like an angel's face, we're glad she has nae wings. Well, you know, anybody that's brought a child into the world, I mean, tell me, parents, any of that happens to stumble upon this video, you remember the moment your baby first came into the world and you held them, and the admiration you had for that little tiny person. And this reflects a lot of those feelings. And it's funny how, 120 years ago, this 10-year-old boy, he just loved the line, her face is like an angel's face. I'm glad she has no wings. That's beautiful. Anyway, I appreciate you listening. If whatever reason you came by, and if the oddball happens now and then, people do stumble across my channel, and every once in a while somebody watches my video, and once in a while they even like them. It's very few and far between, but however, if you've come by, I appreciate you. And I wish you a wonderful day. And I'll say God bless you. And the next poem we'll work on would be called Let the Dog's Delight Be Bark and Bite. That's interesting. And it's by Isaac Watts. So that's our next poem on our list. So we'll find out who Mr. Isaac Watts is, because he may have been very well known 100 years ago, but I'm just meeting him today, and we'll find out a little bit about him, hopefully. Okay. Well, that's it for this one.